Hi everybody, this is Liam Martin from Running Mode, and in today's video, we unfortunately have bad news for Paulo, my video editor, because I don't just have one video view today. I have 3 videos, and I'm here with Dan Martell. This is also why I'm wearing all of this crazy merch. I've got a phone case.
This is not how you dress every day, Liam?
No, unfortunately not. If you send me about 20 of these, maybe that could be
I'll keep them fresh and clean. You can give them to homeless people and we'll be good.
So we are talking today about having a coach. Entrepreneurs have coaches. Some do, some don't. And this is something that I've had a coach actually for probably the past 6 to 7 years. Dan has been my coach for the past 2 years, going on 3 years now.
Yeah, man.
And I would really say he's one of the core components towards my success. So in today's video, we are going to be getting into, do you need a coach? Why do you need a coach? And what can a coach do to be able to make you a more successful entrepreneur? First question, Dan, who are you and why are you here right now?
Who am I? My name is Dan Martell. I'm here because this is my studio. No, just kidding. Why am I here? I guess because I have the privilege of coaching you and Rob, and I absolutely love working with entrepreneurs to help them level up.
That's very exciting. I have been an entrepreneur for many years, so people like you bring me joy in ways that you don't even know. So let's get into the first question here. I have 5 of them, and I may actually not only ask a couple of them. Why do you think it's important to have a coach?
Well, so just so everybody knows, like I've always had a coach. Okay. My 2 failed companies kicking it off. I've built 5 software companies. First 2 were failed. Started at 17, again at 21. So like, luckily I was just young when I started them. Yep. Otherwise I'd be like probably the average age of most entrepreneurs starting off. But I hired an E-Myth coach when I was 23.
Okay.
Paid him a lot of money every month before I even had a business.
Wow. Okay.
I just didn't want to fail. I freaking read the E-Myth, and Gerber sold me on Sarah's Pies, and And I've got to give 100% credit to Bob, my E-Myth coach, like 16 months of working with him to really do fundamental business things that I just didn't know any better to do because I'm a software developer, like, vision, mission, financials, like just these really core business stuff, marketing, business development, et cetera, is the reason I'm here today. And that just has continued. So I think that if you're the type of person that wants to move quickly, right? I just think it's kind of just naive to think that to be a top performer, like it would be weird if you met an Olympian that showed up at the Olympics that said, I came by myself.
Right.
It would just be weird. Yet if you're trying to play this entrepreneurial game at the highest levels, I think it's just par for course.
So inside of the coaching industry, there's honestly a lot of inside of the coaching industry. And you are not one of those people. And I know that because we've known each other for almost 10 years. Yeah. I've built that type of relationship with you. And then also me being your client, I understand that you are doing it for the right reasons and you are also putting out a really good product. But I want to know, for people that are watching this right now, what is a good coach? Like, what does a good coach look to you? And then maybe what are some of the red flags that you can look for inside of the coaching industry? Because I think like I get a lot of people that talk to me. They're just like, oh yeah, I got this coach. And I'm just like, oh man, this person's trying to take your money. And I think there's a lot of ethical issues that work into that. I know when you take on a client, it's something that you are truly focused and committed to. And I think that, unfortunately, there are a lot of people in this industry that don't have that same mindset. So I'd love to be able to hear your thoughts.
The crazy part is the crappy coaches are really good at being sneaky.
They're great at advertising.
It's bananas. So like, I think like, and I had a hard time with even the word coaching at first. Yep. I didn't use it for many years. I think it's like in the same vein as real estate agents and social media experts and all these industries where they have a low barrier of entry. You just have these charlatans that show up. 2 things, if you said like, look for these 2 things, one would be the coach talks about the client's results more than their own. So a lot of the best coaches, my coaches, they don't talk about themselves at all.
Right.
They talk about the people they've actually, they have like, you can go to a page that says like testimonials, case studies,
right?
And it's real people. It's not like I doubled my business in 3 years, Jane from Saratoga or wherever. Like it's real. Like you can click on their page, go to their Facebook page.
Yeah,
real people.
Got it.
And I think that's a good starting
point. I can
point.
Talk to them. I can literally say like,
They're
well, here are 3
people.
referrals that you can talk to. And
like if you're that good, you should have a bunch of success stories. And
that's so interesting because I even know inside of SaaS Academy, me and Rob have directly referred 2 or 3 people. Omar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, from Webinar Ninja. Yep.
Chris Bryson.
Yeah.
Right. Those are 2 people that are directly, they came to me personally and they were like, I'm thinking about doing this Dan thing.
Yeah, because I pretty much like, we have a page and it's like, here are all the companies we've worked with.
Right.
You've given me permission to put your logo. I always ask, but we get testimonials. I send my videographer on site to go do these like cases. Like I don't want you to hire me because of what I've done, because I actually think that's not interesting.
Right.
Because you're not me.
Right.
What I think is more interesting is who are people like you or whatever individual that I've worked with that you can talk to and say like, for the type of coach I'm looking for, this person will solve the problem. So that I would say that's one. And then the second thing I would say is, and maybe I'm biased towards this, but when I look at my coach and many others, is they give away 100% of everything they know.
Okay.
And they don't say like, I've got this like secret magical.
Why wouldn't a coach do that?
Oh, some
in the
of
first
them,
place?
No, most of them it's like, hey, I know this thing that you don't know, but if you pay me, I'll teach it to you.
Okay, got it.
Right? You've seen these people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my whole thing is if you want, you can go on my YouTube and I give away 100% of everything I know.
Right.
It's free.
Yeah.
Go nuts. 300 plus videos and I add a new one every week and I will for the next probably another 6 years. I gave myself a decade.
Okay.
But if you want to have a more personalized experience, you want to work with me directly, then we can have that conversation. So I think that if you did those 2 things, you found a coach that like literally gave away the strategies on everything they know how to do and not just like, look how cool I am as their content marketing, because I think that's what you see. And that you can point to a page that has all of their real people, testimonial results and case studies, and you can verify that. There's a guy out there right now, I'm not going to throw him under the bus because that's just not my nature, but he has a video ad running for SaaS founders, and here's case studies. Okay,
right. The
people in his case studies, that he doesn't make it easy to figure out who they are, but they end up reaching out to me, and when I talk to them about their experience, they, what happens sometimes is people have these blips of success, but it's not sustainable. So like this guy helped them get a micro result, but it's not the full picture.
Got it.
So I think that even that I would want to dig in if you even found them, to make sure like it's not enough that they publish it, but talk to the person to make sure that like, did they do the thing long term? Because I think it's too easy.
Yeah. I call that, do they have an arrow or do they have a quiver?
Exactly.
Right. It's like, is there one thing that they do that is giving you some type of result and they can't replicate that long term?
Yeah.
Or is this someone that I can work with for a very long term engagement and know, okay, I'm going to have the strategies
I'm always going to get the best
actually
stuff.
succeed. Yeah. Okay. So in terms of SaaS entrepreneurs, okay, because I'm a SaaS entrepreneur, I do this thing on Fridays called Running Remote YouTube channel, but the rest of the week I work in Time Doctor, which everyone probably already knows. What are the positive signal identifiers for a successful SaaS business? If you had to give me 3, I know we actually talked about this about 45 minutes ago, but we didn't talk about it on my YouTube channel, so I want to talk about it right now.
Well, a lot of people may not know what SaaS stands for. Funny enough, Liam, my best friend, asked me, software as a service.
Yes.
And just because you have a subscription business, does that mean you have a SaaS business? I don't know why people think, well, people pay me every month. It's like, no, it's a solution. It's a product, software. So that's who I serve.
Yep.
So if the question is what, is it data points or is it individual characteristics of teams? What do you,
if you had a gun to your head and you just said to yourself, okay, I'm going to let's reword this in an interesting way. Let's say you wanted to, out of all of your clients, okay, because you've interacted with tons of them, you've got hundreds of people right now, and your job is to put together $1 trillion SaaS business. Okay. And you can basically choose any of the type of personality types or even the individuals inside of your group that you've had experience with.
Yep.
How would you assemble that dream team? What would the dream team look like?
Technical lead.
Yep.
Marketing lead. Operational lead.
3 founders.
I would do 3 founders. Let's say I was funding a new company.
Yep.
Okay, so this is even funner because I'll even tell you about price point, go to market strategy, all that stuff. So technical chops, marketing, salesmanship, and then operational time.
Who's the CEO out of that group?
Typically the sales and marketing leader, only because they're gonna, and not for any importance reason other than the fact that they're inherently going to be the person on stage communicating. So it only makes sense. Whereas the operational person is more interested in like the internal team dynamics, and the technical person is obviously more product focused on the engineering.
So like a rocket fuel integrator guy, and then you've got the... Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And then I would say mid-market, I would do freemium or at least free trial.
Mid-market is 10,000 to 100,000
Yeah,
ARR.
annual contract value.
Okay.
Yeah. And I would do super non-sexy. I would stay away from MarTech. And I would probably go into farming as an example. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's what I mean.
Farming?
Yeah, it's got to be a market that I don't have to worry that any Stanford graduate, MIT, I want time to innovate, because once I figure out
blue collar.
Yeah.
Lock it, because all those white collar guys, they're going after that market.
Yeah, it's all.
I want to be the smart guy that says I'm selling to the farmer.
Yeah, super unsophisticated, but still has a need. I can solve the problem. It's got a pain point, like because I think the best companies are ones that have enough time without having competitors show up, so you can decide by just picking a big enough TAM, a total addressable market, in a unsexy, you're not going to get covered on TechCrunch kind of process.
Got it.
Yeah, and the mid market, because I want customer financing. I want to be able to self fund this without getting super diluted, and build the structure where if I can get the customer to pre-buy for annual contracts and use that to self finance the growth.
Okay, now on the reverse side, who are the people that you see that do not succeed? Maybe the people that don't make it to SaaS Academy, because pretty much everyone in that group has a significant amount of success. At
SaaS Academy, I definitely work with successful revenue generating high performers.
They've escaped velocity.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep.
So, what do you see as the teams or the product or the dynamics that don't hit that target?
100. I mean, they're the ones that I don't let in.
I know you don't let them in, but
no, I don't.
Do you see them? Who are those people? Right.
Okay, so I'll tell you what happens.
I would love to hear, because people probably are listening right now or watching right now and think to themselves, okay, well, is that me? Right. Yeah. So identify who that person is.
If you are selling a dream that your product can't deliver on. Okay. Which those folks, the biz ops, and your product has high churn because of it. That is me. Like, I
fight that desire morning, noon, and night.
Because you see all these examples.
Rob is a fantastic counterpoint to me, where he's like, you can't say that. You can't say that it's magical and it will solve everyone's problems. And I'm like, why not? That's like, I'm in charge of marketing. That's my job, right? Yeah. And he's like, no, we've got to stick to the fundamentals of this business. What can we currently offer now is different from what we could theoretically offer in a year.
The reason why those folks have a hard time, and I don't typically work with them, is because the product has high churn.
Got it.
And in the SaaS business, it's a very simple economic model of, if I can't get more customers per month than I'm losing, I stall out on growth.
Churning out. Yep.
Yeah, and some of them show up and they've got 25% monthly churn. I mean, every 3.5 months, they're losing 100% of their customer base. Right. And typically that's a byproduct of having a one-trick pony product. So, I mean, a lot of it is very product market fit, but I think some of them are doing it to themselves through their marketing angle. Second thing is their technical team isn't even close to being in-house. It's like some dev agency that they pay $100 an hour for engineering, and just to change things or improve things, that becomes prohibitive. So if you can't actually like improve your product quickly, I think you're at a disservice. So those folks, I'm like, go find a co-founder, try to bring it in-house. And I would say another thing that I see often is they don't have they don't solve it's more vitamin than painkiller, which again, I guess comes back to the product. But I mean, there's something systemically wrong about the thing.
Right.
And typically they're in markets where they think there's money to be made, not because they have any domain experience or any passion or whatever. And I think that like fundamentally, if I ask them, are you solving this because you have the problem, or you just, your cousin told you that people would buy?
A perfect example of something like this where a really nice guy was running a product to be able to serve tattoo parlors, right? It was like management software for tattoo parlors. And I said, oh, well, do you manage a tattoo parlor? He's like, no. I said, do you have friends of yours that manage tattoo parlors? He's like, well, yeah, kind of. And I said, well, where are your tattoos? And he's like, oh, I'm getting one next week. And I was like, dude, you need to not be in this business. Like, you're not experiencing that pain, right? With Time Doctor, it was a direct pain from one of my other businesses where I could not measure how long it took for a remote worker to do a task. And I needed to solve that problem, and I knew that it would at least solve my problem. So that's
what I'm saying.
That's hit on, yeah. Okay, so to end this out, I want to get back to the coaching industry because it is something that's really bugging me. And whenever I have the opportunity, I really want to pull people in the right direction. There's so much information that's out there, and people can get so distracted by like the shiny lights of, I'm going to make you a millionaire if you only buy this $17 thing from me. If there was one thing that you could change in the coaching industry today, what do you think it would be?
What a great question. What would I change?
Like maybe for me, it would probably be, I would love to be able to know very clearly if you are a coach and you generate all your revenue from being a coach, tell me that.
Yeah.
Versus, I'm going to teach you how to do X, right?
Yeah.
And at some level, everyone's kind of that coach.
Yeah.
And I'm so successful at accomplishing X.
Yeah.
But actually, 95% of my money
comes from the coaching.
Y.
Yeah.
Comes from Y, right? It's super disingenuous and something that like I want to call that out, but I'm also Canadian, so that's a major problem for me.
Yeah, like I used to be that way as well.
Yeah.
My coach is a coach's coach, so he coaches other coaches. So, but I mean, I know that, so I know that his revenue comes from that.
Well, he's being genuine about where it's coming from.
He's like, this is how and
he's not telling you, I'm going to coach you how to build a remote team.
I think that, Liam, that's probably the thing is, if I could, I mean, it's just when you say, what would you change? I'm like, well, how would we build a policy around this? But I guess if you just say like, one thing I wish people had to do maybe then is like my wealth came from building software companies, not coaching. I continuously invest in software companies. I've built an incredible, I mean, you've seen the growth of SaaS Academy over the last few years because I do what I teach, which is hilarious. It's like, I treat my coaching business like a SaaS company and retention, customer success. So I can't help but scale and try to create the best product out there. I guess that's one of them, but yeah, it's just like every industry where you've got charlatans, man. You gotta buyer beware, and you've got to do the homework. And actually, this is a good one. I wish there was. Well, see, this is tough too, because I would say that I wish there was a mandate that they couldn't take money from somebody who couldn't afford to do it. But the same token, when I was 20 some years old, I don't think I could afford my coach either.
Oh, sure. Okay.
I didn't even have a customer. I didn't have revenue. I had like savings, but I just, my heart breaks because I only work with revenue generating companies. They can definitely afford it.
Yeah.
It's when people, they literally have financing people on the phone ready to like finance 50 grand that they don't have to get them to buy the program. I mean, so that's the stuff. But at the same time, there is the exception within that. Out of 100 people, there's like 5 of them that are going to do something with the information. And actually, it was needed at that point. So it's tough, right? It's like saying we shouldn't give credit cards to people that can't afford a credit card. But it's like most startups have started on credit card financing.
Right.
So I guess there's that. That's just the part that crushes me on more like the lower tier coaching, people that are selling these dreams, and you meet folks that have put, I met a woman once at an event. She was about $250,000 into programs.
Wow.
and zero revenue, no
Right.
business, no nothing. And it was her fault though. She kept buying the dream. Like literally we would joke, if somebody got on stage, it's like, all right, somebody take her credit card. She's going to run to the back of the room. It's like,
no, I kind of see that as like lottery tickets.
Yeah.
Right. Versus a plan.
Yeah.
Do you have a plan, or do you want to just buy a lottery ticket? Makes you feel really good to buy a lottery ticket because you can dream about what you're going to do.
Yeah.
But like, let's actually get down and do the work. And I've found, at least in the coaches that I've worked with personally, I've been able to detect that quite easily. But I'm constantly surprised by how many people can be successful in that industry, but yet cannot produce any value or very little value. Maybe that's an unfair way to say it.
I think that's another thing I would look at is if the person, especially in the business category, are they business? Do they have a business? Because a lot of these business coaches don't even have an assistant.
Right.
So
they're just hustling.
They're actually not good businesses.
Yeah.
Like that kind of, to me, is kind of a weird one. It's like a fat life coach. I'm just throwing that out there. Like no judgment. There's no body shaming here. But if you're trying to help people get their lives together and you're, obese, let's go look in the mirror first and clean that up. But yeah, man, I actually don't think about these things often because my whole thing is like, I'm just going to, stick to what I do and try to be an example of it.
Yeah.
And there are some incredible coaches out there, and like every industry, from the jewelry industry to dance studios to, real estate, there are some incredible folks out there.
Mm-hmm.
Just I think if you're interested, don't jump at the first Facebook ad you see. If you're, you know what I mean? Like if you're like, oh, I want to, I'm a software entrepreneur, I want to coach, go check out my stuff, but go check out everybody else's stuff. Like go look at the universe of potential coaches,
right,
and make a decision versus feel like you let anybody pressure you into making a decision today.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, with running remote, we seem to have a very unique opportunity where the last two running remotes were in Bali, and we got a lot of and I have nothing against spiritualism whatsoever, but like these spiritual chakra based coaches that are going to will money into your pocket automatically, but for some reason you had to make 3 easy installments of $9.97, over the next 6 months to be able to make it happen. And that's just so frustrating.
That's the result in advance. I think that great coaches have an abundance mindset, and they're like, look, I'm going to teach you stuff. You're going to get results before we ever work together. And I think that should solve that. So
you heard it from Dan, AKA, I'm going to call you the Sass Whisperer.
Okay.
Is that a good one? Maybe that'll catch on.
I've never even heard. Yeah.
You never heard of the Horse Whisperer before?
I've heard the Horse Whisperer. Nobody's ever called me the Sass Whisperer.
What do you think?
I think it's interesting.
I think we'll see how that goes. Dan, AKA the Sass Whisperer. If you are interested in learning more about Dan, we'll have him linked somewhere here and probably down in the description down below. Where can people find you?
Dan Martell, 2lsmartell.com. Go there and let my marketing take.
That was smooth.
Yeah, well, that's just, I say it quite often.
Yeah.
And then if you're interested in just like learning like real strategies, go to my YouTube. So search Dan Martell, 2lsmartell. Instagram, if you want to see like how I live. Because I think this is interesting about coaches is you're like, and I know this with all my new clients, if my first event, they're all like, is he the real deal? They always say that, right? Like, you're the real deal. And I get it because I've been that student where you're like, I wonder if he really is that way. Follow me on Instagram. Go check out my YouTube videos. Google my name. I pretty much live my whole life publicly. Every company I've
just your wife and kids. There's very little bottles and models that I see anyways.
I don't even wear a fancy watch. I'm just teaching and living life.